Very good evening, everyone. Charles here, further on Daily Chart Analysis, further on Forex.com, and of course, further on Mastery. Very good afternoon to you all. Just wrapping up the day's plays. Time is just approaching 25 minutes to 8 here in Milan. What can we say? Pretty, I'd say an average day, to be quite honest. I'll explain why. But we banked profits nevertheless. So we took two positions today. One long position on EG just approaching midday, and one short position on GU, which was, I close it out. I'll explain exactly why in a minute, and it will all make good sense. So total roughly 2% there, and EG, as a result of it not being my favorite type of position, I had half risk on this. Although we're seeing 3%, we're just under 2% there. So not a bad day, to be honest. Not a bad day for a Tuesday. We'll take it for what it is. So let's do some explaining. So why did I use half risk on this trade? Well, as you can see, there are many reasons that I could identify of which I could have lost this trade. For one example, I love to trade Asia range positions when they are available. And as I can see here, Asia was very much so available. Nevertheless, as well as that, I really don't like using order blocks within Asia. And you can see why, because it's very likely once you understand how Asia or the liquidity sat to the highs and of course to the lows of Asia, you just know that price is more than likely going to want to fill Asia, grab liquidity underneath in this scenario by way of order block, and I'd naturally be looking to fill Asia, right? So to elect to use an order block within Asia range or the Asia range with Asia available was a tough ask for me, I'll be quite honest. And as a result of that, I elected to use half risk on that trade. With that said, what I must admit is, as a result of doing the prior work, so what do we have, 9 hours ago, this was the chart analysis. So to be quite honest, I have to stick to my plan. It's unfortunate, or I should say it's fortunate, but it's unfortunate that there were no better trades to show up for themselves at that time. And with my schedule today, I just figured, well, half risk. It's a setup, nevertheless. We have snapped Asia. It is a very standard snap and retest trade for me. It's just unfortunate that the order block that I'm using isn't slightly lower, or even better, it isn't this order block that I would have loved to have used, right? And if you were to have looked on the previous videos that I had today, I did say if price got down here on EG, then I would definitely look to be aggressive. So taking this type of position here I wasn't as comfortable to do it as I would have loved to have been. So anyway, bottom line, half risk, not quite 3%. But we live with that, right? So that's a great illustration of plan your trades well in advance. And when it comes to execution, then it's just a piece of cake, right? Simply calculate what you need to do and enter the trade. Right, so nevertheless, second position of the day was GU. Now that for me was a favorite of mine. What did I say today? I said it would have been GU. I was looking at EG and potentially, I think, US dollar CAD longs and EU shorts. But nevertheless, here we have it. 12 hours ago, so I was up slightly earlier marking GU. And what did we say, or what did I chart rather? So I had this order block up at the highs, but most importantly, what I would have sent out, if you give me a moment to bring those charts up for us all, so you can hold me accountable. What did I have? So GU. I hope this shows up for you all. Where is it? Oh, in an ideal world, that would open. Let's see if it's opened a tab. Should be it. Okay, GBP US dollar potential favorite. So yeah, I've clicked that 24 times. But yes, what you won't see on my chart now since I've cleared it, but this was provided for those that care. A structure point in the market. What I needed to see was that structure point broken. And then once that structure point is broken, in an ideal scenario, price would come back up to an order block left up at the highs. And it's pretty much as simple as that, right? So GU potential favorite. And yeah, that was 9 hours ago. So we head right back to the charts now. Where are we? GBP. excuse me, US dollar, we had exactly that, right? It's pretty much as simple as that. We had that break of structure. There was an order block left up at those highs. There were no further order blocks remaining for me to take. Let me enlarge this screen a little bit larger for you to have a better look. So if I use the GAM box and start producing those order blocks, there's nothing left, right? So my short opportunity was all hedged upon this order block just there, and that trade was executed. Now, I had a question privately. Why did I elect to take that via sell limit? Now, let me bring to your attention what I do most days. The first chart that I am analyzing every morning before my trading day is the Catalyst King, of which it is the DXY. So we can see 13 hours ago, the first chart, absolutely the DXY, where I'm forecasting potential turnarounds from, right? So if we're looking for short positions on GBP USD, then of course I need to try and understand, is the DXY on those intraday time frames ready for a long position as well, since I'll happily trade the DXY from time to time. But just to keep my mental maths easy as I calculate those pips, or I mean, to be honest, I'm definitely not calculating it mentally, but you get the drift, right? Just to keep everything aligned, I much prefer to trade currencies, to be quite honest. So let me come to the comparison for you all. So GBP USD, that chart was, or rather that trade was executed as soon as we've had that break of structure. As soon as I've identified that order block from this morning, to be quite honest, I had set my sell limit once price was down here. There are a couple of factors why I had decided to take that sell limit. Well, the first factor being I had already banked profits on EG. So I'm up for the day, but I'm not considerably up, right? Just 2% up on a position as an intraday trader. I mean, we can make 2% fairly easy when markets are moving. So I hadn't hit my, let's say, my exit point for the day. So I'm still very much so actively trading the markets, although I'm up 2% for the day, particularly because this isn't a trade that aligned with how I'd like to trade normally. I'll be quite honest. 50-minute order block, I'd much prefer to have more confirmation there, but I went down to the lower time frames and understood that we had closed above the weekly, and well, not so much the weekly, but we had closed above the 4-hour 50 EMA, so I was expecting price to dip into that, and off it goes. Simple as that, right? We've already explained EG, but nevertheless, GU, look at the time of entry on GU, right? We'll have a look. 14:45. Now, at the same point in the day, I had sent this out to, again, those that care. I had sent out, now again, I hope this loads for you all, but my exact words were, I don't think this is going to load, but we'll give it a go. No, that's not going to load, unfortunately. But nevertheless, I said DXY area, GU could be ready. And we gave an update on the GU chart. But I'll explain it. So we had an area in the market on GBP USD that we were looking for the short positions. That's right up at the highs from this order block. I then need to have the confirmation on the DXY that we're ready to obviously move towards the upside. That would bring my GU play right into where it should be. So let me start moving these along and clear up the charts. So I recognize there wasn't any valid order blocks in and around the area where I would expect GU to move the equidistant distance to the highs, in terms of price was up here on the DXY, which meant if I start drawing this out for us all, so we're up at the highs here on GU, and at the time GU had already have made that low. Now we're waiting for price to come back to that high to then take the short on GU. At the same time, we found an area in the market here where the DXY had made its move above, broken Asia. It's done its thing, it's came in, and we're at this stage at the moment. So we're here on the DXY, we're here on GBP US dollar. So naturally, what I'm looking at is price now trending on the DXY? Have we broken significant areas? Are we uptrend? What are we doing? How quickly do I need to be into this trade, and how quickly do I need to be out of that trade? Now, my guiding light for that is this 4-hour time frame. What can we see? Price is being respected underneath that 4-hour 50 EMA. Now, that's very, very, very important for me as I trade with those EMAs always. Either they're my targets for management, or they're my targets for take profit, for good example. And the EMAs on the wrong side will even stop me from taking a position. So straight away, I knew if price came back down to this area, I would need to be, if I'm taking the DXY as a long, I would need to be in that trade. I need to have a sensible stop loss that's going to actually allow me to manage my position by that 4-hour 50 EMA. Now, if we look at how that correlates to GU, we're in the same position. GU was respecting the 4-hour 50 EMA towards the upside. It's exactly the same, it's just in inverse, right? So we've got that area in the market where price is respecting. Now, again, like on the DXY, I understood that if I'm going to take this position, my stop loss placement needs to be sensible enough for the risk reward to make sense first and foremost, and then I need to be out of that trade by the time price reaches or starts to head towards that 4-hour 50 EMA. So the answer to the question is, why was it a limit? Well, if you even look at the times of entry, so they're 1445 here on GU shorts, and if we look at when the DXY came right back into that area and made its push towards the upside, there we go. So what I was doing is using the fact that I'm trusting this order block here on GU, and also understanding that I'm trusting this point of interest here on the DXY only as a result of price actually breaking its high. So I've pretty much had the same position on GU as I do on the DXY. So that's the reason, first and foremost, why I took the trade. Now, why did I manage it, or rather, why did I set the sell limit? Well, if we go back to GU, this is the only opportunity that I have to short GU today. I know that as a fact. Knowing that it's 14.4, well, not as a fact, but I know that enough based on where price is and what else do I have available. So I recognize that price is now potentially in that downtrend intraday perspective on that 15-minute time frame. But why that goes against us is we're edging closer to that 4-hour 50 EMA before I'm then expecting a rejection towards the upside, which could upset the whole play. Bearing in mind that on the 15-minute time frame, as a result of this high, technically we have made a high, and all this is a higher low pullback for a potential higher high after we retest that 4-hour 50 EMA. However, the reason why I'm not thinking of it like that is because long term, I believe that the DXY is bullish, and it's impossible for the DXY to be bullish as well as GU to be bullish. So I'm trusting my analysis on those higher time frames on the DXY, also trusting my lower time frame analysis on the DXY, and correlating all of that information back over to GU to understand, can I take this position? How quickly can I get in that position? And how quickly must I be out of that position? So to the gentleman that asked that question, I hope that answers it to some degree, and I can expand on that. So as I've said initially, I was up on the day, roughly 2%. It doesn't shake anything, to be quite honest, being 2% for the day. I will stop trading more often than not after 3%. So 2%, I'm still in the market. I just have 2% to play with. So that's my mindset first and foremost, meaning that if there is a position, I must take it. Now, second of all, looking at the analysis that I provided, even via YouTube, for a good example, we'll keep it TradingView so I don't get fired off TradingView. I've already made the plan, right? And as I've shown you guys earlier, the plan is there. So what else am I supposed to do other than to follow my plan? Of course, I have different variations of entry techniques, and that depends mostly on my risk appetite for the day. So you guys know now that I'd only bank 2% for the day, but that doesn't stop me. That cannot prevent me from trading. That's simply 2 losses that I am up, for example, right? So it doesn't do enough for me to stop trading. Therefore, if I see a position, and again, it would have been the only short position that's available to me based on the fact that here is the only 15-minute order block. This order block's mitigated every order block that was tapped in that area. Price went and respected. We have it here in facts. Price bearish move to the downside, order block created, price tapped in, off it went. Order block left up at the highs, price tapped in, off it went, and actually created that lower low for us and left us with the order block behind. So using all the facts, using everything together, that's why I set a limit. And just to put the cherry on top of the cake, I wasn't home. I was out and about doing bits and bobs, and the alert went off that we've had that break of structure. So for me personally, trusting the fact that I do the work early enough and I analyze the charts, I'll give myself enough credit to say, well, I back myself, right? And whether that's a loss or a break even or a take profit, it is a trade that I wish to be in nevertheless, right? It's a slightly different on EG, that it's a trade that I had my reservations about. Therefore, as a result of having reservations, what I should have done, to be fair, is wait for more confirmation. But as I said this morning, the EG for me, it's one of those pairs that if it doesn't perform using my strategy probably this week, it's one that I'm just going to start sliding it down the list and actually taking it out. Feel free to check that video out of me cursing EG for various reasons. So for me, EG, when I see the setup, I just have to take that. So I've gone for my lower time frame confirmation to take that, which, to be honest, is pretty good confirmation. When you master how to use that lower time frame confirmation, that's great, right? But the way I mitigated the fact that I didn't actually like that position was using half risk on that position. Now GU for me, there's not a lot else that I was able to take today. DXY is performing as expected, right? It's respecting, it's broken, it's done exactly the same. There's every reason to expect that this area in the market is going to hold. Contrast that across to GU, it just makes sense, right? We were making lower lows, trending beautifully. Lower lows, lower high, lower low, came up into the imbalance, lower low created out the market. Thank you very much. Tap into the 4 hour 15 May. We're off. So I don't have enough time just to expand even more on that question. I just simply wouldn't have enough time to hang around there. And with that said, there's not a lot above. If price wants to break above and stop me out, that's fine. But I know I can't take a position at least for another 100 pips in terms of a short, right? Unless price absolutely turns around from the areas and then pulls back up. So I hope that answered the question, why limit order. And while we're there, I'll just wrap up that 20-minute video and say thank you very much, everyone, for your support across all of the channels. It is seen, it's appreciated. Even in this fantastic chat, you guys have stopped tearing me down, which is great. And yeah, feel free, as always, to check out the daily chart analysis. That will come out every day, consistently, probably before you guys have even woken up. You will have the notification that the analysis is there. So as I say, it's great to be back on TradingView, posting again for you guys. And thank you very much for your support again across all of the channels. I appreciate it. All the very best in your trading journey. Do take care. Charles.